Happy Star Wars Day, everyone. May the 4th be with you. Today, to celebrate Star Wars Day, I thought I would show off one of my oldest LEGO sets. This is actually my first Star Wars LEGO set, and the first LEGO set I ever got as an adult. Set 7140 X-Wing Fighter. This would be the original Star Wars X-Wing Fighter from 1999. And I got this and built it and kept it on a shelf in my house for about 10 years. And then when we moved, I threw it all in a Ziploc bag and never really put it back together until my kids found it in a closet. And since then, I've reassembled it a couple of times, and they had some fun playing with it. But I thought this would be a good one to show off today. And while LEGO has made many, many more X-Wing fighters since then, I wanted to show this one off because it does have something that those don't have. But I'll go ahead and start off by showing you the model. Because of its age, one of the things that's easiest to see is that this is made in the older shade of gray. And I have here one of my AT-ATs from the LEGO Star Wars Advent Calendar in recent years, and I'm trying to show these side by side. It does not show up well on camera. The older shade of gray is definitely different from what LEGO is calling light bluish gray. Here in the landing position, the ship has landing gear, but these are meant to only hold the ship up while it's being put on a shelf. You can just take these pieces off if you want to swoosh it around. And as long as the wings are folded up, it'll sit on your table just fine. And because this is an early model, there is no magic mechanism to open up the wings. You just do it with your hands. And you have click hinges here. I don't know if you can see them in there. Right here. And that's what holds the wings in the attack position, or the S-foils, depending on how technical you want to get. And because the model is old, there are some clutch problems. As you see, one of these pieces fell off. And I found with these older Star Wars models, because when my kids found them, they were barely 4 years old. And of course, they didn't really want to build as much as they wanted to swoosh them around.
He's going to destroy the Empire.
And I found with these older models that there's always some weak point in every model. And on this one, it's all of these lasers. These fell off really easy, especially the ones on the bottom, which have a rounded top with the studs, and they go into the anti-studs on the bottom. So oftentimes when I was letting my kids play with these, I would just take those pieces off because I didn't want to lose them. In the back here, we've got the 4 engines that kind of remind me of this trans orange color here. Reminds me of the LEGO Ice Planet. So maybe there's still some connection to classic space or to the more traditional space themes that LEGO had. I wasn't into those space themes, so I may be way out of line there. We have lots of printed pieces here. There are no stickers on this set. We've got the 5 stripes there. This is red 5 after all. And a couple of printed tiles here on top. The nose cone here, that's a print. We have all kinds of secret compartments here, which I'm not sure what they should be used for. Here in the front, we've got a spot here, I guess, where Luke can put his luggage. Or the Luke minifigure did come with a lightsaber here, and so maybe he can store that in here. Or maybe not. We have another compartment here in the back. It just flips up. Maybe this one will hold the lightsaber. Nope, maybe not. Maybe if you take it apart. And of course we have a section here right behind the cockpit for R2-D2. And we'll look at him closer here in a minute. Inside the cockpit, we've got the printed canopy here, which does not tilt up as well as it should, because partly, again, the age of the set. But if it did, you would see Luke Skywalker in there. And of course, this is just the old yellow head Luke Skywalker. And we have a print there showing the targeting computer as he's flying down the Death Star trench. And here we have a little side build that actually I had lost sometime when I moved and only found it a couple of days ago in a box with some just random stuff. And this contains a bunch of stuff used for transporting tools for maintenance and possibly other X-Wing pilots. And while I did recover this particular side build, I'm missing one piece. I'm missing one tool here on the side, but I'm not too terribly worried about that because I can probably find 7 or 8 of those in a random tub if I just look hard enough. And then finally we have the minifigures, which these are very, very early Star Wars. We have Luke Skywalker here. He's got his rather plain white Rebel helmet. The stripe you can see is just a tad crooked. And he's got a rather plain facial expression and chest print, and there's no alternate faces. I don't even know if they did alternate faces in Lego back then. And of course we have R2-D2, and this is a very early version, so he is printed, but he's not printed very much, and of course there's none on the back. But the very basic pieces to make R2-D2 I don't think have ever changed since this time. We have Luke's friend Biggs Darklighter, who actually has more printing on him than Luke does, given that he has a rather plain facial expression but with a mustache, and he has this checkerboard pattern on his helmet. And the mustache champion of this set is this guy, who is not a named character. He is just a mechanic with the Rebel Alliance. And finally, here's Luke with his lightsaber, with the original version of how Lego made these rods for lightsabers. And earlier I said that this set had something that the later X-Wing fighters didn't have, because after you finish building it, there's a comic at the end. And in this case, we see what looks like Luke Skywalker in some type of dangerous situation. Maybe he's on Dagobah, and his ship breaks up, so he has to think of something, and he master builds a new ship out of the pieces, which is very in line with the way modern Lego animated cartoons are. And then here off to the side, the manual shows you that you could actually build these things out of the pieces of the X-Wing fighter. And here are 3 alternate models. What kind of looks like a snowspeeder, what would have passed for a cell phone in 1999, and some other small pod. And if we turn the page again, we get more comic, and we have 3 more builds. So there's actually 6 alternate builds you can make with this X-Wing fighter. Now, the manual does not include instructions for these, but these are supposed to be inspiration, and I'm feeling inspired, and I'm going to see if I can build all 6 of these models. Okay, our first attempt here for model number 1, and there it is. And this was quite a challenge to figure out just from, not just this picture, but we do have some other pictures here to give you different views of the ship, but it doesn't give you like what's in the back here, and there's no rear view of it. And we used the canopy from the X-Wing fighter and just some other pieces, and it looks like a very passable spaceship. In fact, the thing I kept thinking of when I was putting this together was this must be what building classic space sets was like, especially the ones that were designed to be taken apart and rebuilt into other models. And if we turn the ship upside down, we've even got these little dishes here to act as feet. And you'll see I'm holding it like this for a very good reason, because if I take the canopy off or lift it, I can just pull this ship out and it becomes another ship, which is actually model number 3 on the instructions. So we've managed to make 2 models in one go. So that's pretty cool that we were able to do that. And one of the interesting things about this ship here is the engines here are not actually attached. If we were to lift these up, because they're on the same click hinges that were used for the wings of the X-Wing fighter, the engines just slide right out. And that's even kind of represented in the comic here, where the monster eats the back of the ship. And so Luke is left with just model number 3. After you take the engines out and remove the little ship in the middle, you don't have a whole lot left, but I wanted to show at least, this was the part that I really couldn't figure out, was how was this all attached in the back. And I finally figured out that one of these hinge pieces that is used to create the extra storage compartments on the X-Wing was how this is all supposed to lift up. But it actually, while that's all in, holds the engines fairly securely. So now I'm going to try model number 2 here, the Space Phone, which looks a lot simpler than the ship. Build number 2 was much easier to figure out than build number 1, and you can almost build it with the pieces that are left over after you do build number 1. And you've got here this Space Phone, or space radio as it's used in the comic, where it looks like Luke here is using it to call for help, which of course doesn't arrive in time. But this is pretty simple. It's just you use the same hinges as you do for the X-Wings. It does have a couple of headlight bricks in here, so you can use this piece like an antenna. And, you know, it's a nice little simple build. Next up is the build that I was most interested in ever since I first got this set, which is build number 4, which looks like a lightsaber hilt. So let's give that a shot. All right, we got build number 4 here, this lightsaber hilt, and this was pretty easy to put together. And we just see we're using the engine pieces here from the X-Wing, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just some other pieces here to keep it all together, with a little bit of decoration here with this piece here is from the side build of the X-Wing. It's one of the lights that the technician is supposed to be using to guide the other ships around. And this part was hard to see in the picture, but I think I did it as best I could. But this is really cool. And I have to admit that I was not necessarily looking forward to building all 6 of these models, but the first 4, it's been pretty fun. 5 and 6 certainly look more challenging, but I'm going to give it a shot. Okay, here's model number 5, and I believe I have it successfully built. And I don't know about any of you, but I think this looks more like a walking vehicle, and it really reminds me of Ed 209 from RoboCop. The arms here actually, because they're on some of the click hinges like the wings, can actually be angled up and down if you need for that. And I don't think there's any other magical features here. This one was definitely more challenging to figure out because we don't have a great view of what the back is supposed to look like. So I just kind of winged it. It looks like it's pretty open there. But also, if you look really close in the instructions, even though the feet here I've got, you know, perfectly side by side, the instructions makes it look very clearly like somehow one of them is supposed to be one stud in front of the other. Like you see this right here is, you see 2 studs showing from underneath versus only 1 there. But I didn't sweat that too much. I am actually just feeling pretty good that I got this built as well as I did. And now let's see if I can complete the mission and make model number 6. All right, here I've got model number 6. And I think I did okay with it. I'm pretty sure I did not do it exactly the way that the picture wanted me to do. And this is the drawback of trying to work off photographs instead of renderings. The shadows are very evident and it makes it hard to tell what color brick goes where. And these pictures are so small that I caught myself when I was looking at these pictures actually doing this, trying to expand them to be able to see. But I did the best I could, and I think I did all right for that particular model. It's got a long center section here that has a compartment that opens up, and we've got the cockpit here in the front for Luke to sit in. It's actually pretty spacious, and there's no special functions, like nothing that detaches. But I have to admit, I've gotten a great deal of satisfaction from being able to build these 6 models, because I certainly don't have the imagination to come up with these types of designs, but I feel pretty good that I was able to figure it out just from a few pictures and with no instructions. Now, I know I'm not the first person to do this. I found a video by Shybricks, which I will put in a link right up here, that shows all 6 of these models also being built. But I had a lot of fun doing this. Well, sure enough, as I'm getting ready to put this away, I see that I apparently was supposed to use hinges here on these front sections of this alternate build so that you can angle them down if you want to, but I ended up just making them fixed just with regular angled bricks. It was so hard to tell from the pictures on the inside, and I'm still not sure if I could make that modification, but I might just decide that my version is good enough. Okay, I lied. I didn't let it go. I went ahead and went back and made the changes to use the hinges so that we can have angled wings, because I gotta admit that does look way cooler. And I just gotta be careful not to land it like that, because it puts the wings lower than the landing gear if you have them down like that. So you just gotta click them back up and everything sits much more stable. And I suppose if you wanted the angle to be much more severe, you could do that. It does look a little more aggressive that way, but now I can be happy, feeling like I at least came very, very close to building all 6 of the alternate models for the original X-Wing fighter. Thank you for joining me on this May the 4th. And remember, even if this is a Star Wars build, today is still a good day to build.